I think it's time. We finally need to talk about it. Hi guys, I'm Dia and you guys are watching Dinosaur. Sorry for that overly dramatic intro, but I think it's time that we should talk about it. What are we gonna talk about? We're gonna talk about the book Renia by Karl Forshaw and how uniquely amazing that book is, and it's already one of my favorites of the year that I've read. Sorry for the clickbait, you guys, but this is YouTube. I mean, this is how people get views. Anyway, we need to. I have been sitting on this book for a while now. Like, I finished it in February, mid February, I think, and since then, I haven't written a review, I haven't talked about it anywhere other than my social media accounts like Twitter and Discord. People know that I've liked the book, but they don't know how much I've liked the book, and they don't know why exactly I like the book. So today we are gonna do it. I'm gonna just sit here and tell you about why you should go and read Renia by Karl Forshaw. So I received a review copy of the book from the author, but my thoughts are my own, and it's coming out on 21st of this month. I'll put up the date, confirm date on the screen. I can't remember, like it's gonna come out this month, end of this month, but I'm not sure about the date. It's most probably 21st. So I was approached by Carl on Twitter when I posted about, I don't know what to read next. And he generously offered his book Renia, and I went into it almost blind. I had only read the Goodreads synopsis, but as you guys know, I don't like going into a book knowing too much about it. So the Goodreads one, I kind of skimmed. I didn't read it properly. So when I started, I didn't know what to expect, and I was so pleasantly surprised by the book. So let me tell you what the book is about first. So we are following this young scribe called Renia, and she works at this knowledge center, this knowledge hub kind of a place, where she has to copy down different books. And knowledge is kind of, like thought of as this treasure in this world, and it is kind of restricted within a few people or within a few circles. Like, not everyone is allowed to write a book, not everyone is allowed to read every book. So it's this post-apocalyptic society, kind of like a dystopia where knowledge is restricted. And Renia, she gets this assignment to copy down this uh, kind of important book. So she doesn't know why is it that important, by someone who was very active during one of this uprising that they had. And basically she has to copy this book. What happens, this book gets stolen, goes missing, and there is this like frantic manhunt for this, like frantic hunt for this book. I mean, you can't have a manhunt for a book. Like, you can have a manhunt for a thief who stole the book, but you can't have a manhunt for a book. You need to call it a book hunt. Like, anyway, I'm rambling. So this book goes missing, and there are several what do you call them, suspects. And basically you have a load of like a lot of characters that you are following, and these characters, they try to find the book and try to solve the mystery as to why this book is so precious to some people. And you also have cultists amongst them. You also have what do you call them? Assassins amongst them. You have Renia's backstory told uh, as a series of dreams, and you have letters from a mysterious person addressed to another mysterious person, and it's a lot of things. There are a lot of moving parts in this book, but they come together really beautifully at the end. So let's move on to the review of this book. So when I first started, the the prologue that I read, that gave me an idea of how the book is gonna turn out to be. But then I started reading the book, the chapters, and it had a very different tone from the prologue. The prologue was kind of this action adventure, kind of a thing. Like, you have two people fighting over something precious, and like, they're talking about one person is talking about fooling the other person, and you know how it happens in prologues in action adventure stories, that something important has gone missing, or something important is being, like, people are people are fighting over something important, and uh, then our main hero kind of, like, unsuspectingly gets hold of it, and then things start happening and all that. So it's kind of like a traditional opening, but then the book started, and the book had kind of this, this cozy fantasy tone that was very, it drew me in, and it made me care for a character, Renia, so much. And you are not just, the title makes you think, the synopsis makes you think that you are gonna follow just Renia in this story, but it's a third person book. Third person, is it omniscient? I don't exactly know what a third person omniscient book feels like reads like. This had a couple of not a couple of characters, a bunch of characters, and like 4 or 5 characters that we are following, and we get the perspective, like, within one chapter we get, like, at least 2 3 people's perspective in that chapter. So I don't know what to call it, this kind of storytelling structure, but that's basically it. So you are following Renia, you are following her hall master, uh, what's his name, Peter, shit, I forgot the name. Anyway, you are following her hallmaster, you are following her senior who was her mentor, you are also following her friend come lover, you are also following this head of the security guard of this place, and I think these are the people you are following. And you also have the past chapters, like the chapters from the past. So the author Karl, he has divided the book into 3 parts, and each part has a significantly different tone, in my opinion. The first part, it started out very, slice of life, happy-go-lucky, cozy fantasy kind of a story, but then it started getting darker and darker. So we follow Renia in both the storylines, and we see that how her father was this person who collected something called light stones. They lived in the moon waste. So what had happened was that a moon of this planet, like, it fell on this planet and caused the death of an entire race or something like that. So the area around that place, when later on people started inhabiting that area, they found that there are something called light stones. Light stones are these magical objects that is not exactly known what it does by the regular people. Like, regular people have no idea. At least Renia had no idea what the light stones can do. Only, people at the top, they had access. Like, they acquired the light stones through these workers, and the workers were not allowed to keep the light stones at the house for more than a certain amount of days. So Renia's father was one of these workers, and while working there, he had an unfortunate event that led to Renia moving from the moon wastes to the halls of Ven, and from there her journey starts as a scribe. So we see what happened in the past, and that gives you a good idea of who Renia is as a person, like what led to her. Like, she does a few things in the present timeline, and you get to see what motivated her to do all those things in the present chapter, in the present timeline. So the past timeline, it is not just there to act as, something to make us feel sad about Renia, but it gives us, like, it gives Renia enough depth, it gives her motivation, it gives her character a dimension. And I feel that it was very deftly done by the author. So Renia gets the book and then promptly loses it. Actually, it was under Master Peter's Nigrani. Oh god, I forgot the word and I said Nigrani. Anyway, under Master Peter's watch, and it got lost. So everyone and the mother, they are like, oh my god, like, where did this book go? And from there our story progresses. And in the story, as I said, you get a lot of things. There are a lot of moving parts in this story. So there's this mystery of, that there are these mystery chapters which are like, one person is talking to another person and vowing to kill them or something like that because they ruined their life, and you're trying to figure out who are these people, like, how is this tied to the main story. And then you get other stuff like face sucking monsters, like octopus like monsters, which stick to your face and suck out your stuff, thoughts and everything and all that. So it's also a bit horror-ish in that way. And also you get kind of like, magic. The magic in this book is not your usual swords and sorcery kind of a magic. It's this very it is, I would say, kind of has a steampunk element to it. It also has a certain sci-fi element to it. So it's not your basically, you not everyone can use magic. You can only use magic if you can wield the light stones, and not everyone can wield the light stones. It takes, like, years of your life and all that. And not the magic system is not a hard magic system, it's a soft magic system, and that works very, very well with the main story, the storyline. This is unlike any of the books that I have read, and that's why I was scared that, I wanted to do a good job with the review, and I wanted to be as coherent as possible so that people. So my camera cut off. Anyway, I wanted to do a good job with the review so that people will go ahead and read it, and I don't know so far if I have done a good job or not. And the only thing that I felt that could have worked better was to have, there were a lot of elements within the story that I felt made the story a bit long and a bit meandering. So, for example, in the middle portion of the book, you have people who are looking for the stolen book, who are trying to deal with the assassin that has been sent. And so there were so many moving parts, there were so many characters to follow, there were so many things happening at the same time. At times I felt a little, disoriented. Like, I was like, oh my god, like, I I'm stretched thin. I can't focus on so many things at the same time, and I need to. Is that a lizard? I think so. Eeks. So I felt that there were too many moving parts, and it could have been a bit tighter in the middle, and it could have been shortened a little bit in the middle, so that it could be a more cohesive story. And sometimes what happens is that if you have read something from the author, if you know what is the style of this author, you don't mind a more meandering story. You trust the author to bring together everything at the end and tie them together perfectly. But in this case, I didn't know what kind of an author Karl Forshaw is. So I was scared, I was concerned that, oh my god, is it gonna come together at the end? Like, is everything gonna make sense? Like, will there be loose ends? And I'm not talking about the way the first book in the series has loose ends to be tied up in the next books and all that. I'm talking about like things that don't make sense, or things that are not satisfactory enough. And to my surprise, he did put together everything at the end perfectly. Like, I felt that the ends were tied together neatly, and there were no unsatisfactory moments or something. There are a couple of very difficult to read moments, and I would suggest that you read the content warning before going into this book. And that's because I mean, I don't read content warnings, and even I got a bit uh, like, I got a bit unsettled at times by what was happening, the amount of violence or the kind of violence that was happening. And I felt like a content warning should have been a good thing. So I hope the finished book will have a content warning, and do read it. And yeah, so that is Renia by Karl Forshaw. What else do I need to talk about? The writing is very good. I mean, you can't tell that it's a debut author by the writing. I really like the flow of the prose and everything, and the author has a certain voice that is, I mean, I kept quoting things from the book. Like, like, there were certain lines that I was like, oh my god, like, these speak to my soul. And I was like, quoting from the book so much. And the author has this distinct voice where he's like, he is kind of poking fun of people, but also being profound at the same time. So you feel like, like, you feel sorry for the other person, but you're also amused at the same time. So I really like that voice. And the characters, as I said, they were all the characters, I won't say they were very well developed. There were certain characters which I felt. So I was talking about characters, and the characters, I felt some of the characters were kind of underdeveloped. But I mean, he had so many characters at the forefront. Like, there were so many points of view, and it's difficult to make each and every character fleshed out. So it's okay. Like, I'm not mad about it or something like that, but I felt that some characters, they could have been a bit more fleshed out. But there was this one character which I'm not gonna name here, because that's the name is a spoiler in itself. And that, oh my god, I started out like thinking about this character as like someone ridiculously, like someone not important, someone like the butt of the joke or something like that. But oh my god, like at the end, I was like, this character, like, oh my god, like, oh my god. So I can't tell you more about this character because it's gonna spoil the story, and I purposefully kept the review vague because I went into it blind and had a terrific time, except for the content warning scenes. So I want you guys to go into it blind, and I want you guys to have as much fun with it as I did. And I can't pronounce the M's and N's in this video because of my blocked nose. So yeah, I think it's time I wrap up the video. So anyway, I gave Renia 4 stars because although I really liked it, there were like at times I felt that it was dragging a little bit, or it was like I was not sure where it is going, where the story is gonna go. Like with certain stories, that okay, so I have a feeling that it's gonna go in this way or it's gonna go in that way, which is not a bad thing, which I like. I like predictable stuff. I hate surprises. This book was like, you have no idea where the story is gonna go. Like every chapter, things change. The course of the river changed. So I was like, oh my god, I have no idea where it's gonna go, and I'm scared. And I don't know, I don't trust this author enough to, bring everything together at the end, like perfectly. But I was wrong, and at the end, it was like the conclusion was so good, and there are a certain loose ends over there, which I mean, if you are writing a series, you will leave certain loose ends at the end of your book so that people will have the hook to read your next book. So I mean, he had to do that. So I feel, so that's why I knocked off 1 star, and other than that, I really liked the book. So go ahead and give it a shot. March 21st, hopefully it's March 21st, I am not messing up the date. The book is gonna come out, so yeah, go ahead and give it a shot. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.